President al-Assad visits Maaloula town, inspects the monastery of St. Sergius and Bacchus, and checks the damage and destruction caused to the monastery by terrorists. Easter celebrations limited to prayers and masses at cathedrals and churches due to armed terrorist groups' acts. Terrorist explosion targets humanitarian aid convoy in Syria and several casualties due to mortar shells in Homs and Aleppo. The popular protest continues against the tyranny of al-Assad despite the tight restrictions and the heavy military deployment in streets and squares. Good afternoon, welcome to our news bulletin. I'm Dania Nizam. On the occasion of Easter and from the town of Maaloula in Damascus countryside, President Bashar al-Assad wished blessed Easter for all Syrians, hoping that peace, security and amity will be restored across the country. During his visit to Maaloula, President al-Assad inspected the monastery of St. Sergius and Bacchus and checked on the damage and destruction caused to the monastery by the terrorists. After passing through the eastern entrance and as he was inspecting Tekla Monastery, President al-Assad said no one, however severe his terrorism reaches, can erase our human and cultural history. President al-Assad added Maaloula, along with other Syrian human and cultural landmarks, will remain steadfast in the face of obscurantism and barbarism of all those who are targeting the homeland. Passing through Ain Natina village on his way back from Maaloula, President al-Assad applauded the village residents who gathered around him for their stand in defending their village and neighbouring areas. President al-Assad labelled the villagers' stand as an honourable one that represents a miniature of the Syrian society as a whole and the bright civilization of its people. Easter celebrations were limited to prayers and masses at cathedrals and churches due to armed terrorist groups' acts being committed and in honour of the martyrs who have lost their lives for the sake of Syria. Greek Catholic Patriarch of Antioch and all the East Gregory III Laham led a mass at the Roman Catholic Melkite Patriarchate in Damascus, marking the significance of Easter. Another mass was held at Mar George Cathedral for Syriac Orthodox in Damascus. In al-Assad province, the Syriac Marafram choir held yesterday a festivity celebrating Easter. In the Church of the Saviour Christ in Moscow, Patriarch of Moscow and the rest of Russia, Kirill, led a mass on the occasion of Easter, praying that peace would be restored into the Holy Land, Jerusalem, Ukraine, and the whole world. Patriarch Kirill called on all the faithful people in the world to pray for the election of a legitimate authority in Ukraine and for the realization of the amendments to the constitution sought by the Ukrainian people. Patriarch of Antioch and all the East for the Greek Orthodox John X Yazigi asserted that Syria's salvation would be realized through reconciliation, logic of discourse and dialogue, which protects its sovereignty and unity. In a message issued on the occasion of Easter, Patriarch Yazigi said that Syria's resurrection will be accomplished through the civil state that serves as a melting pot in which all the Syrians are integrated, asserting that Syrians have the right to be safe in their homeland and that the international community must cut off the sources of weapons that are brought into Syria. The Patriarch rejected yielding to the intimidation, displacement, extremism and Takfiri thought, emphasizing that the Syrians will stay firm in their country despite all the hard times. Syrian Arab army units eliminated a number of terrorists. Some of them were leaders of armed terrorist groups and non-Syrians. The Syrian army units also destroyed 2 warehouses that contain missiles, explosive devices and mortar launching pads in the villages of Latakia northern countryside. Syrian Arab army units eliminated a number of terrorists of what is called Islamic Front and destroyed the dens in Damascus countryside. The news reporter said that terrorists' dens were destroyed in El-Mleha, the area surrounding the company of Tamiko, Erbil and Alei farms in Douma. On the other hand, units of the Syrian Arab army clashed with terrorists in Daraya, killing and injuring a number of them, while operations of the Syrian army were made in the eastern mountains of Zabadani, resulting in the killing and destruction of the terrorists' equipment. In Anquz plains, many terrorists were killed while others injured, and their weaponry were destroyed by the Syrian army's units, ahead of the destruction of a whole grouping that contains weapons and ammunition in El Batra mountains of Jairud area. Despite the mounting number of the martyrs and injured, who are the victims of the daily terrorism that target the Syrians at streets, schools and workplace, and despite the big number of mortar shells fired and the terrorist attacks that target all Syrian cities and towns, the SC that held a closed-door session to discuss the British draft resolutions under the title, Discussing the Situation in Old Homs. And with this, we conclude our news bulletin for today. Thank you for watching us. Happy Easter to us all, and God bless Syria. After the break, it's our economic and business news.